guys, and welcome to another episode of the Welsh Bee Show. And today we're going to be talking about the latest Wrexham AFC news. And believe me, there's some very, very big news to discuss regarding Paul Mullin. And joining me today is one of the hardest working, if not the hardest working, Wrexham podcaster. It's Matt Jones from Racecourse Ramble. He's got about 6 shows now, haven't you? Thanks for joining me, Matt.
Thank you, Carl. I'm not sure I'm the hardest working. I thought, but yeah, I thought I was the big news. I not. I didn't think there was any big Wrexham news. I thought it was me.
You're always big news. But of course, we have to talk about Paul Mullin. Paul Mullin has left Wrexham. He's gone on loan to Wigan. What are your thoughts about this? How do you feel about this, Matt?
So I've got mixed feelings. I think I'm quite wizened. I'm quite old, Carl. So this kind of wasn't a shock. You could see it coming at the end of the year. So I prepared myself. Should we say that? But I think if you go back a couple of years, I was talking about this with somebody before. I thought Mullin was going to kind of be with us a bit longer and be effectual for a bit longer. Last season is how effective he was sort of died off a bit. And going into games knowing that you've got a player who could score a goal out of nothing had been lovely, hadn't it? We haven't had one of them in a while. And we haven't had many of them at all over the last couple of decades, have we? So I'm gutted because I would class him as a legend. I know he's only been here, what was it, 3 or 4 years? I've lost track. Perhaps 4. I would class him as it is 4, is it?
He's been there from the beginning of Parkinson's time, yeah?
Yeah. He'll never have to buy a drink in Wrexham again, will he? I guess that probably is a good way of measuring legend status. If he walks into a bar, how many drinks does he have to buy? He'd never have to buy a drink again, will he? So I am disappointed. But the caveat is, I think the signs were there, and we've talked about this obviously on the podcast. I think the signs were there, so it's not a total shock to me. I know that not everybody will say that. Not everybody's is sort of living in it every day, like perhaps what we do. But it didn't surprise me. But I'm interested to see what your thoughts are.
Well, as you said, for me, it's for the best. And as you said, it was always going to happen. I think he was never gonna really. He wasn't in favour. He'd lost his form. The injuries and the surgery he had has clearly affected him. You could see last season when he apart from that fantastic goal he scored against Blackpool.
I didn't see that. Did you see that? I didn't see that. The fog, I couldn't see it from where
I eat me carrots, you see. But you thought then, can he come back to anywhere near his best? Yeah. The quality will always be there, and he always give everything. But he was just off the pace. He just wasn't able to get into games like he used to.
Yeah.
And for me, this is for the best, I think. And I think Wrexham have probably moved on from Paul Mullin now.
I agree. I think that's the sorry to interrupt. I think that's what Parky has been showing us, that he's moved on from him now. He wasn't making match day squads in the end, was he? He wasn't like on the bench. He wasn't traveling to games, even as like we sometimes take people to games just in case there's an injury and stuff. He wasn't even being that in the end, was he? And I don't know if you remember, there was the kerfuffle when he went to the Wigan game, if you remember. He was in the away end at Wigan last season at the end. He was in the stand with us. And I was just wondering now whether that, is there any link there? Was this move on the cards, or why did he choose Wigan and yet now he's rocked up at Wigan? Are those two coincidences or what? I don't know, but I think you're right. Phil Parkinson had just sort of thought, I need more, and he's gone out and obviously he went out and got it in Sam Smith and Jay Rodriguez, which is to be discussed, I guess. And then obviously Ryan Hardy comes in, so they're moving down the pecking order, aren't they? These other lads.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, his contribution, what he did. Wrexham's best player for 35 years. Great all-round footballer, more than just goals. He could do everything, couldn't he?
Yeah. I think that's when we've been talking about this when we've been on streams and stuff, and people have the thing that gets thrown at me a lot is he can't do it. He couldn't do it at league. He'd never proved it at League One level, and then the other thing was, well, he'll never be able to do it at Championship level. So I'm not of that opinion because I think he's never been a quick player. So he doesn't rely on pace, but he's intelligent and he's got good movement and he can score from anywhere from 25 yards out. So you think back to that Blackpool goal, how many of our players could score that goal? Probably him and Fletch, who were there at the time. Nobody else could have scored that goal. And I think he can do that at any level. I think he'll score goals for Wigan as long as they keep him, get him fit, give him a run, put some faith in him. I think he scores 15 to 20 goals. If it'll be 20 goals if they're a good side, it'll be 10 to 15 if they're a average side.
But for me, if he does well at Wigan, I don't think he should come back.
No,
stay there. Why you can't come back and recreate? Now, it's, as I said, I think it's gone. Thank you, but it's a shame how it ended. He could have made an appearance at the end of the season, perhaps signed off with a nice 10 minutes to say thank you. And it's a shame how it's ended. But for me, it's best he goes elsewhere, tries to get back some form. But if it works out for him, stay there. Don't try and come back and spoil it.
I agree. I don't think there's any intention from Phil Parkinson that he comes back. I think this is just the best way for them to handle the situation. I.e., nobody's probably got money to buy him. Nobody's got money to probably, certainly in League One, to take all his wages because he's probably very well rewarded for back 3 promotions, and obviously we paid him a lot to come down the leagues, didn't we? So I don't think any of them teams could probably have an appetite to pay his wages. I think there's probably a recall option for him to come back in January. I bet you we don't even consider it. I think he's gone this season, and then he possibly technically comes back next season, depending on what the Wigan situation is. Obviously, they might want him back. Other than that, that last year of his contract, he probably sees somewhere else, doesn't he? That's how it feels to me. That's my sort of read of the situation. But it's hard for us, isn't it, as fans, because we don't know the conversations that are going on, do we? But I think you're right. I think Parky's moved on from him now.
Yeah, and I not just Parky. I think the club has, and I think we're looking at a new future, and we've got a lot ahead of us. And it just wasn't working out. I mean, what was it? The injury in America, wasn't it?
Yeah, the lungs, the ribs and the ribs and the lungs. Yeah,
and he never really recovered from that. Then it was the back surgery, and I think that was just too much. He lost his pace. Didn't recover from that.
There's something. Lots of people say he must have been fit by the end. I'll tell you. A couple of things. So I do, obviously, I do a little bit of running, and your base fitness level has to be good. Yeah. And the footballers' base fitness levels, they get in the summer, don't they? That preseason training when they do more running and they sort of lay the groundwork. So it was really, I think it was really tough for him to come back this second time because that was the second preseason that he missed. Then I don't think they'd have played him so early in the season. If you remember, he had to come in when Jack Marriott got injured. And I think he scored I think it was Rotherham away, he scored a goal. And I was like, this is it now, he's going to go on. And he never did. It stalled again. And he I think Blackpool might have been the only other goal he scored. But Mark Crichton was at the Fearless and Devotion live event, and he said, for a pro, missing 2 preseasons, it's really, really tough. And I know people are saying, at the end of the season, he should have been fit at the end of the season and stuff, but it's just not that easy. It's really difficult. And I think the fact that it might have done him a favour if we didn't need him so early in the season and he had another 6 or 8 weeks to recover and get some better base fitness in, and then we had to use him, maybe that would have been different. But it's all if buts and maybes, isn't it? That's the thing.
And I think also coming to a new league as well, because Wrexham got promoted, he was coming to a harder league, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think as well, and he had to perhaps offer a bit more. Even if he was fit, he perhaps had to up his game a bit more because he's at a higher level.
Yeah, I take that on board. The only thing I will say as well is that I don't think, it's going to sound weird, I've watched loads of games for Wrexham and watched Mullen and other strikers, and I thought we don't help our strikers out a lot. So, we're not a side that creates loads of chances, are we? And that the strikers miss all the chances. we don't create a lot. We've been really reliant on being super efficient, and that's probably the opposite of what you need when you're trying to get yourself into a rhythm as a striker. Jay Rodriguez hasn't set the world alight, has he? Let's
talk about that.
So and Smith obviously got a few goals to his credit, but I think we've got to help. And Ollie Palmer didn't get a lot of goals last season. Did he get 3 or 5 or something like that? And he played half the season. Yeah, so it was. The point is, it's not like we had loads of other strikers who got 15 goals, is it? We don't create a lot, and whether that was by design or just the way the season played out for Park, we'll see next season, won't we? Because if it's the same, we know it's by design, really, and that's the way he wants it to be. But I'd say I hope he goes and scores goals, because I think everybody loves Mulls, don't they? We love his story. We love the bit with Albie and the fact that he loved being close to him. So I think what we want is Mulls to be happy. He's achieved legend status. I hope he's happy. I hope he scores some goals and he gets to spend some time with Albie.
Well, I think Wigan fans are going to be excited, and I think it offers a fresh start. Hopefully, it's not too much pressure, and he can I think they understand his circumstances, and I think they'll get behind him and hope, and encourage him, give him time. And like I said, if he can just get something back. But going back to what you said about the style of play, it probably is by design. There were times last year when Smith was looking isolated. The service wasn't there for him. I think maybe they were hoping Rodriguez was going to offer a bit more in the link-up play. But I think the way Parky plays, certainly last year, is not to create, it's to keep it tight.
Yeah.
And like I said, not too many chances. I think 67 goals as well, which wasn't, which it was defence. It was really good. And I think next season, it's the defence that's going to keep us up there.
Yeah, so I think I did a sorry to plug up my own channel, but I did an interview with Bryn Law last week that went up on the channel, and we spoke about this. And Bryn basically he says what you notice in the Championship is every team is super well organised from the start. Defensively they're solid from the start, and where the exceptional teams kick on is because they've got so much money to buy all these amazing midfielders and forwards. You look at Leeds, for instance, who scored bagfuls of goals, but they've got bloody 15, 20 million, 30 million pound players on 70, 80, 100 grand a week. So obviously that'll get us, defence will get us so far, being set up right will get us so far. But then obviously the job over the summer will be to raise the quality level in the squad, won't it? With, I don't know how many signings perhaps you think we'll get, but what, 5 or 6 Championship level, and if they can get better, then from above, that's what it feels like to me. That's what it's not going to be a 1 or 2 job. This, I think they'll go and get 5 or 6, really good players.
See, I'm stuck on this because I don't want this squad to be disrupted too much. I don't know how much work you think it needs, but I'm quite tempted to say, just go up and see what you can do. I think this squad is good enough to survive. I've been looking at this, and I think 60 points should be the target.
Yeah.
And if you can get 60 points, that will keep you up there. I mean, obviously, another promotion, the Premier League, we all know that, But 60 points would have been 12th last year in the Championship.
Yeah.
So that keeps you up there with room to spare. 55 points to do it, 52, but that's a bit risky. If Wrexham can aim for 60 points, they're going to be well safe. And I think that's 16 defeats I worked out. They can afford to lose 16 games and be well safe and stay up there to go again. That would be, for me, a massive achievement.
Yeah. So I agree. I don't think Rob McElhenney thinks like you. I think Rob McElhenney thinks. I think in his head he goes, well, how do we? I don't think that they think they're going to go and win the league. I'm not saying that, but I think they're thinking, well, how do we have a bloody good go at this and make sure we're as high up as we can be? And but the Championship is really weird. You've looked at the table. If you haven't, go back and have a look at the league table, because there's about 16 or 18 points separates promotion, celebrates the bottom of the playoffs to relegation. The middle of the Championship, it's like that. Yeah. It's weird, and So it's going to be every point is going to count next year. It's going to be really weird. And you're right. Although that wasn't your point, but we're going to lose more games next year, aren't we? This is, but I think people need to understand this now, don't they? This is going to be much more challenging. But I think Wrexham, so I agree with what you're saying. And I think me and Bryn were talking, sorry to keep referencing it, but we were saying that if Wrexham can just become
plug away, go for it.
If Wrexham could become an established championship side, if we could stay there for like 3 to 5 years, at least, that would be unbelievable from when me and you started watching, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that's bonkers to even say that, I think. So I'm sure they should be delighted if we stay in this bloody league next year. We didn't get that reality check that we thought we were going to get last year, did we? Everyone was saying, oh, you'll get a reality check now. Yeah. We didn't get it. We were never outside the top 3, were we, in the end?
It was easy but this year, in the end. What was all the worrying about?
I know.
Let's go back to that day. What a day that was. What a performance. I mean, you could feel the town was buzzing. I was up early. I was out and about early, and you could sense something was happening. I was revved up. I was tweeting nonsense. I thought I was going to explode. You could just feel it. Everyone was out early. It was buzzing.
We were.
What was going to happen? And what a performance. What a start.
Yeah. So I think actually it probably was Blackpool the game before. Or was there? I think Blackpool was. I think it started there because we went away to Blackpool, which was going to be really.
21st, yeah.
Well, that was going to be a really tough away game, we thought, and we went there and we were like a Rolls Royce. We turned up, we played. Rob McElhenney was in the away end. It was bouncing. It was as good as anything I went to last year. And then obviously we were all out early because who was it? Leyton Orient Wycombe, was that the early game?
That was the early kickoff, which I think helped.
I did because the caveat was obviously if Wycombe lost then we have to win, whatever it was, and obviously so it was set up for us, wasn't it? Because the Leyton Orient obviously caused I don't know, even if you'd say it was an upset because they were a good side in the end, weren't they? So the day was just set up, which was obviously really nice. So that by the time we got there, we'd had some lagers as well. We were all ready for it, weren't we? And then we turned up again. So at the crucial point of the season. All those big players turned up again, didn't they? And the Matty James, who not everybody, Richie on my podcast called him Matty Sideways because he doesn't always pass forward. He didn't always have the love out of everybody, but he had 2 unbelievable games, Carl. Honestly, and at the balls for Smith at Charlton were for the volley was unreal. So in the end, the cream rose to the top, didn't it? And when we needed it, all those big players came up.
The first 20 minutes, the movement, the pressure, the pace. They were getting 2 early goals, obviously helped. I mean, and I think that's what frustrates fans sometimes. Why can't we do it more often? But, I think Parky's style of play is usually to be cautious, but obviously it was a lot at stake that day and they knew what they had to do. But when they play like that, it's a joy to watch, and they are capable, like the passing, just everything. Everything was just astonishing. The pace, they sat back for large parts and controlled the game largely. No real threat was there for most of it.
No. So a couple of things to say. 2 things. Parky's way of dealing with pressure is to sit back in shape. He doesn't really tend to like to press high up. He's content to let everybody defend our box. Let's have everybody back and we just defend our box. He's always done that. I'm not sure we'll ever change him. I think that's what he prefers to do. His experience is telling him that's the way to defend. It worries me to death because you're letting the opposition have the ball all the time. But he thinks he's got good enough players and defenders to deal with it. But I talked about this. I noticed at sort of Christmas time, well, probably New Year time is how I describe it, that we tried to start playing more football and it was less direct than it had been. And it took a bit of time, but we got there and it's peaked at the end of the season. So I think he started the transition that he probably thinks he's going to need this season, early in the new year, aided by the 2 signings, with Rodriguez sort of doing that deeper role and Sam Smith actually scoring goals, which is what he said on the documentary was the reason he bought them, wasn't it? That he wanted somebody to score the goals when we did make chances. So I give Parky a lot of credit. I think that Blackpool, we played some lovely football. The ball, was it Blackpool where James McLean scored? The ball from George Dobson to James McLean, go back and watch it on YouTube. It's unbelievable, that pass. It's going to be fascinating to see how he sets up this season, bearing in mind some of the opposition we're going to play.
I think he's always played the same way, but obviously in the lower leagues, National League especially, this was always a League One squad, wasn't it, from early on? So it was just too dominant. I think everyone's always complained about his style of football, but in the National League especially, such a talented squad, too powerful, the quality gap was too much, so we were scoring a lot of goals, winning games 3s, 4s, 5s, and that changed as we went up. But the football hasn't changed. The style of play, the approach has not changed.
Oh, I disagree with that. I think it has.
I think overall he's always had that safe setup, cautious. Talking about the 5 at the back or whatever, to keep it tight, keep the positioning, keep the shape.
Right. So I think some of it's still the same. So obviously the formation predominantly stays out of possession when he has the sort of, out of that formation for me stays the same. I think when we've got the ball, we don't smash it as much. We have tried to play through midfield into attack. For me, as I said, since New Year, I spotted it. I spoke to Andy Morell about it, and he said he thought he saw it in December. So I think it has a bit, but some of his core beliefs will be the same, won't they? Like he's not going to. I don't think he's suddenly going to rock up with a 4-2-3-1 formation at the start of the season, are we? It is what it is now. That, and I think some of his traits are because he's had to learn. Pretty much, he's always had challenges. He's never been the man with the most money in the league. You think about the tough times he's had at some of the clubs, so he's learned to deal with that. So I guess some of what we see is what's gone before, isn't it? The difference now is he can. Although obviously we won't be the biggest spenders this year, but he's had the best toolbox he's ever had to put into action his plan, hasn't he?
Yeah, and the signing of Smith especially, that's what we all wanted, didn't we? We were desperate for a striker to come in, a quality striker, and they've gone and paid big money for Smith. Yeah. And again, he delivered, 7 or 8 goals, was it? That was a good return.
It feels like if he'd have been here all season, he'd have got double figures. Because you have to remember, nobody has got double figures for us last. That's bonkers, isn't it? We've got 92 points. We've gone up second in the league, and none of our players have got double figures for goals. I mean, the top two were Elliot Lee and Max Cleworth, I think. So in terms of, say again,
8 goals was it?
I think 9. I think did Elliot Lee get the 9th, which is how he ended up with the top goal scorer. So I think it was 9 and 8.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you won't. You can't say you won't. I think it's highly unlikely that we can get away with that again next season, which is why he's brought a striker in already.
And what do you think about this signing?
So we've been linked with a lot of big names, haven't we? Everybody's seen it. Stupid names.
Rumors,
stupid name. Jamie Vardy, Christian Eriksen. Take your pick.
Well, Vardy's been going around for a couple of years now, isn't it? It always seems to crop up,
Yeah. I don't think Wrexham have any interest in pretty much any of those players. I think they're publicly they've spoken and said this season they want hardened, experienced Championship players in their 20s is what Les Reed had been in the paper and said that's what Wrexham were looking for predominantly. And think Ryan Hardy obviously fits into that. They chased him before Smith, apparently, didn't they? That was the rumour. They tried to get him. They want both sides want. Plymouth and Reading wanted about 2 million, but Wrexham opted for Smith, but knew that Hardy had this relegation release clause, supposedly of call it £600,000 or £700,000, which is why they've rushed to go and do the deal because that's a no-brainer probably for somebody who in a poor side got 10 goals. So where will he play? I don't know. Will we play 2 up front again? Will we play 1 up front and 1 behind? We're guessing at the moment, aren't we? But what we do know is Parky loves experience and Ryan Hardy will bring championship experience into this squad. He's on the cusp of the Scottish side, so Plymouth fans think if he has a good run, he'll actually get into the Scottish international side. So that's a great player to bring in for 600 or 700. I mean, I can't even believe I'm talking about signing a player for 600 or 700,000.
Yeah.
It used to be 6 or 7 bibs and some balls, didn't it? It was not 600 or 700. We're talking about buying a championship player for 700 grand.
But for me, I'm not overly excited. The experience is one thing, I believe, but 10 goals last year, he's not setting my juices flowing. A good player, is he any better than what we've got? No. Will he contribute and add? Yes, I suppose he reassures the squad and he reinforces it, but it's not a star signing in my eyes. And 10 goals last year, albeit a team that's got relegated, for me, doesn't set the world on fire.
Right. So I totally understand that, because it's not glitzy. It's not a glitzy or glamorous signing, is it? It's not like he was the championship top goal scorer, and it's not like he's fallen out the bottom end of the Premier League or something like that, which is what would excite people. But what Wrexham there's two things you can do to make your side better. This is just my simplistic way of looking at it. And you can tell me whether you agree or disagree. One of those glitzy or glamorous signings would lift your ceiling, wouldn't it? It would, you would really be adding a quality player. But what we've done is actually raise our floor. So what we've basically done is we've gone in and gone, right, there's probably going to be 4 or 5 players here. A couple of them will raise our ceiling. I'm sure there'll be some big names that that the fans love, a big shiny toy, don't they? A new sign that's exciting. But what we've also got to do is raise our floor, because you're only as good as you're only as good as your weakest link, aren't you? So if our weakest link ends up being Ryan Hardy, who's a championship proven player, then we'll be in a good place. At the moment, because there'll be more will go as well. Remember, won't they, Carl? There'll be, there's probably 4 or 5 of them that'll go still. So I think for me, he raises our floor. He doesn't raise our ceiling. Like, I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
But let's not knock that, because if we could, you need 4 or 5 of them in your squad, don't you? And I don't know. Did Ollie Rathbone get you as excited? And yet, look at I'm just a name I picked out of the air. I wasn't thinking he was going to be the total game changer that he was in the end for our midfield. So maybe he's like
last year, clearly.
Yeah. But did you have that? Did you have a similar feeling perhaps when he signed? Because I think I probably did. I was a bit like, probably an excellent player, but I wasn't expecting him to be outstanding.
Yeah, exactly the same feeling. You think, okay, decent player. He adds a bit to it. Nothing exciting. Nothing to get too excited about. But obviously, I think a different position. I think that's the thing you're looking. We're expecting we need someone who's going to score 15 to 20 goals, perhaps.
Yeah.
And is that going to be Smith? Is Smith the number one? Are they going to bring in another striker? But I think that the positionings are slightly different. You're expecting more, I think, from a striker. You want that signing that is really going to set things on fire.
I get that. I understand that. It's the glamorous end of the pitch, isn't it? Where the goal scorers. So I do understand that. But if Hardy has the same effect that Rathbone has, but for the forwards, we'll all be saying the same thing in what a steal he was. But I totally understand why some people are a bit like, it didn't move the needle for them in terms of excitement. I get that.
And do you think this is going to be the only striker, or will they go for someone else, you think?
It's so hard because we don't know what he's going to do we? Like, if he continues playing one striker deeper, then we've been linked with some other players. I'm picking names out the air, like Davis Keeler-Dunn. You could argue him coming in and playing that Rodriguez role behind Hardy or Smith. You could see that happening. So I think if we want to give him numbers, I think Smith and Hardy will either play together or fight for that number 9 spot as our main goal scorer. I just wonder whether he might bring somebody in to challenge that Rodriguez role, because I don't know, he didn't set the world alight for me last season. Now, some people he did, and some people loved him and thought he was great. It worried me that he was, the amount of impact that I thought he had in a game And I think we'll need more next season. So it won't surprise me if we bring in another forward. But that's, I don't know. What did you think of J-Rod?
Well, yeah, disappointed. And I think everyone I've spoken to feels the same. I think, we thought he'd offer much more. An experienced player like that. Again, he was always going to come in to complement Smith. And you could see what Parky was trying to do with him. But it just didn't come off. Like I said, he didn't contribute as much as we all hoped.
Can I ask you something? Do you think we played him in his best position?
Yes.
Yeah.
In general, yes. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Because when I followed, obviously very loosely his career just from watching like Premier League and what have you, and I always thought everything I'd seen of him was as him as your number 9, and I was asking him to play deeper and watching him sometimes being so far down in the pitch, like he's helping out the fullbacks and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think we're helping him out in asking him to do that. So I didn't think that. But Parky obviously had a plan and it worked, so it doesn't matter, does it? It worked.
Yeah, I just think at this stage of his career and the way Wrexham play, it would have been of no use as the lead striker.
Right, lack of pace and that, and just because of his age.
Yeah. What I think best for now, what Parky, the vision he had, I think was the correct one. You can see what he was trying to do, but we perhaps didn't. The way we played didn't help him at times.
Yeah. No, I don't think we've particularly ever helped our centre forwards. I think they are left to scrap it alone.
I think he's going to have a job on his hands sometimes, a big job on his hands. We're not going to be as helpful as we should do the way we play.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
You know what our fans are like when things start going wrong. There's always the easy, you always.
That's all fans. To be fair, that's not just Wrexham. That's all fans, especially in football.
I think that's what I was trying to when I was going for the 60 points. Is just to just have a plan and just be sensible. Because if the defeats start coming, the bad runs come, just remember where we are. I know it's easy to go back and say, look where we've come from. Look, we're not that team now, are we? We're not the team that got relegated or nearly got relegated from the National League 5 years ago or whenever it was. We're a bigger team now, bigger club. You're expecting more. But I think it's still a case of being sensible.
Yeah, so if you look at last season, Portsmouth, who won the league the year before and got into the Championship, I think they finished about, you'd have to check, about 16th, something like that in the end. But for a long time, and they've got a very good squad and a very good manager, for a long time, they had a run of games where they just weren't winning. And publicly, it felt like they potentially could have fired their manager, John Mousinho. It was like every time they lost, you were like, well, that'll be it now, And they didn't. They stuck with him. And then eventually they pulled away and were safe by about 5 or 6 points, if you have a look. And I keep referring to Bryn. I had this conversation with Bryn and I said, that's got to be what Wrexham look at next year, because there will be a spell where we drop points for 2, 3, 4, 5 games, won't there? And you, like you have said, then the doubts will start, won't they? And the question, it'll be really interesting to see how we react. But there's an example, because you know what it's like in the Championship. There's clubs that have 3 or 4 managers last year in the same club, Carl. So it'll be really interesting to see how Rob and Ryan react. But I don't think they will waver. I think they will back Parky till the end. And it might be that we have to be like Portsmouth and we have to stick it out, hold our nerve, and eventually we pull free. But we have to remember something as well. We've got 5,000 less seats next year, which is a lot of money to be without. So if we can just hold our own, get as high as we can next year, try and stay in that league, and then when that new stand is full and it's churning out money, then they'll have, you've already brought in 5 or 6 players perhaps this year. Then you go and add another 3, 4, 5 next year. We'll be a different team, won't we?
Of course, I think Parky will be backed. He deserves it. But again, you go back to Rob and his vision and Ryan as well, what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
If things do start going bad, do they panic? Do they look to make changes? Is that the danger? Once you you get in a position where you're so close to achieving what you're set out and you've spent money, you've invested, how much time do you give someone?
Yeah,
Parky deserves time.
Absolutely, he does. I'm 99.9% sure that they will hold their nerve if we have a spell. They'll hold their nerve and they'll back him because that's what they've done. We haven't had long spells of losing or dropping points, if you like, in games. So we don't actually know. We haven't got the evidence. But I think if they everything they talk about is an absolute belief in Phil Parkinson, isn't it? Like when we lost to Stockport 5-0 away, apparently Rob texted him straight away and said, "Don't panic. We're right behind you. No need to, don't stress about it." And I just think it'll be more of that. It'll be more of that. Honestly, if we can, I know there's a lot of people who think we're going to go and fight for this league title this year. If we can stay in this, I said this last year, and they overperformed, aided by some clubs that threw their season away last year, but we still had to do our bit. If we can be anywhere near halfway in the first season here, we'll have done unbelievable, Carl.
Yeah, I think the thing is though, so far under Parky, we've always been in promotion battles.
Yes.
Not relegation fights. We haven't seen that yet. So that's always the danger now. Who knows what we're going to do? It's exciting, but there is a real chance it could be a relegation battle.
The only good thing I'll say, so so there is a chance. There is always a chance for any club, for that to be the case. But we probably both really believe it's unlikely, don't we? But then but the good thing will be that Phil Parkinson has got so much experience as a manager. Like if we're going to pick somebody to replace him, you'd be going, well, who's got loads of experience, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be going, let's have the latest fancy 35-year-old young coach. So if we are in or around anywhere, I think they will be so grateful to have Parky and Steve Parkin's experience. But the question will be, obviously, until we're there, like if we're rock bottom at Christmas and we're 10 points behind everybody, let's just play a hypothetical, very unlikely scenario. What do you do then? That's the worst case scenario. You're getting cut apart, cut adrift in terms of points, and you're bottom of the league and you can't buy a win. What do you do then? But I just don't believe we'll be in that situation. I think I looked at that league and I looked where Oxford and Portsmouth were, and I thought, at 16th, 17th, we can definitely get to. Whether we can make the jump to challenge for the playoffs, I think depends on the level of player that they can attract. But I'm not expecting them to go out and get 5 Premier League players to help us, bridge that gap.
I mean, I think this squad can go. Don't sign any new players. This squad can go up and do well, be safe. I truly believe that. This is not a fluke. This is not one good season. This is 4 seasons in a row of finishing in the top 2. The foundations are there. The form is there. There's something that is no. For me, this is real form. It's real quality, and I think it's been built over time now.
If I was a football chairman, Carl, I would give you the manager's job because I wouldn't have to spend any money. So I would be like, "Yep, you take these players and off you go."
I'm not a fan of disrupting what's doing well. I don't see anything that needs changing. We get frustrated sometimes, but we went pretty comfortable in the end. I know in the end, but 4 seasons in the top 2, 3 promotions in a row. I think, like I said, it's so strong. I think everything is there. The team it's clicked. The squad has clicked. And I mentioned this before. The recruitment has been excellent. Very, very few duff players.
Yeah. I think there's football. There's probably an ideal number. You probably know it. If we buy 2 or 3 players, then we get the continuity, but then we get a little bit of extra lift from those 2 or 3 players. There's probably a magic number. Whereas if you go and buy, look at Rotherham, they went and got about 15 players last year, didn't they? Everyone thought they were going to be in the top 6. And where were they in the end? Bloody mid-table. They were a disaster, weren't they? Because they got 15 new players. So I think that's what you're afraid of, is sort of that total change, and everybody has to learn again how to play with each other.
Yeah. There's no need to do that.
Parky's probably too experienced for that. He'll know. In his mind, he'll have a number probably, and he'll know like if we change 10 players, it's going to be too many lads. But so we probably need 4 or 5 now, and then in January perhaps we get a couple more, and then probably in the summer after you get another 4 or 5. He'll have his own idea, won't he? But I understand what you're saying.
I mean, and you mentioned becoming an established championship team. Becoming an established League One team wouldn't be the end of the world. If this is as far as it goes, we come back down and we spend 15 years in League One, solid. Could the owners live with that? Is that the end of the story? Is that the danger? Is that the risk? Or do you think, well, hang on, this is still excellent?
So I don't think it's a scenario we're going to have to deal with, because I think we'll be all right. However, let's play the game anyway. Yeah. No, I don't think they will settle for that. I think they will always try to. Well, we know what the ultimate dream is, don't they? Because they've told us. We all thought they were joking when they said Premier League, didn't we? Little did we know, yeah. So I think that will always be the plan. And like 15 years in League One, whilst us as fans who had 15 years in National League would go, I'll take that off you right now. I don't think Rob and Ryan, it's specifically Rob, I don't think Rob will think like that. He'll be like, how do we get back onto the train that takes us to the Championship, that takes us to the Premier League? But listen, like I said, if we could be an established Championship side, that's a game changer. That is for your long-term health of your football club, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of the extra money, the big money that's there. It would be it'd be mind-blowing if we could have. To be honest, I whisper this. I talk about this with a friend of mine, Welsh techie. We often sort of exchange the same view. Don't tell Rob McElhenney this. I've got no interest, to be honest, in going to the Premier League. I think it's full of prima donnas who are overpaid, with crap rules, crap referees. But obviously I understand it's all the money, so that's why everybody wants to get there. VAR disallowing goals and they're getting it wrong. I'm like, you can keep that. I'll stay in this league, please. If we can stay in this league for a long time, I'll be more than happy. But whisper that, because obviously that's not a very popular opinion.
The fixtures are out this week. Who do you want first game? Who are you hoping for?
So in an ideal world, we'd have a home game.
Yeah.
But I think that the rumour has been that we've asked for an away game, haven't we, to let the pitch settle.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's just idle chatter in the out there, that we'd ask for the extra week. We don't know if that's true or not. So who would I like? I would like somebody that we can beat. That would be my caveat, is home or away, somebody that we can beat. So, for instance, if we got Ipswich at home or away, I think they're going to probably win the league for me. Whilst I'd be really excited that we're playing a big club, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking we're probably not getting any points here, even if it was at home. So if I could have somebody if I could have somebody who, like last year, there's a couple of clubs like Preston or Hull who were close to getting relegated. If they haven't sort of strengthened and stuff, I know that's not glamorous, but I think part of the reason we did so well last year is we had a better start, didn't we? Do you remember? Yeah. So it was Wycombe at home, and obviously we beat them. So if we could a fixture like that, whilst it's not glamorous, and you wouldn't be thinking, oh, this is great, we're back in the Championship and we've got Hull away or home. The flip side to that is that might give us a chance to get some points on the board, which might settle everything down for us, because you end up with a couple of games after that where you lose one and draw one, and you're like, oh, it's getting a bit nervy then. So I get people are on about, the common consensus is that they think we're going to get Leicester away on the Friday night, which will be the first, because the ex-Premier League winner about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, I've lost track. Whatever 16, it was.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've lost this. I'm old now. Time flies.
And the FA Cup as well, not long ago. So they've got good credibility, haven't they, recently?
Correct. So if that seems to be the one that people are like, we're going to get Leicester away, aren't we? At the King, is it still called the King Power on a Friday night? and they're going to be loving it, aren't they? So, I understand that would be a great fixture, but just give me somebody I can get some points off, I think.
Yeah. Ideally,
Who do you want though? Who do you, come on, Lee,
I want
don't put on the fence.
Southampton.
Away or home, or are you not bothered?
At home.
Right.
I want the glamour, I do. I want the excitement. I want to say, look where we are, look what we're doing. Bring it on. And
Okay.
I mean, that, because for me, Southampton will always be a Premier League team. There'll always be.
I understand that. Yeah.
For decades, they're a founding member of the Premier League, and we've not played. I was reading today. Is it 65 years since we last played?
I'd have to Google it. I'll take your word for it.
So for me, it was always Southampton because they're still a massive club, top 20 club perhaps. So bigger than Brentford, bigger than Brighton.
Does Matt Letizia still play for him? Because he can't play if he does.
But yeah, you can still do it. Believe me, you could probably still get those volleys in and free kicks.
Unbelievable, what a year!
But yeah, just so much history there. And just growing. I mean, that would be for me fantastic. That would be what it's all about.
So that feeling that you're describing, that sort of, I don't know what to call it, like a wow moment, and that magic feeling, is a feeling that I had a couple of grounds last year. So whilst the game was pretty crap, when we went to Bolton fairly early on, and that was like, it was like, we're here again, aren't we? And then Charlton, I had it as well. We went away to the Valley, and again, that was like, you're looking at it, and like, I think Charlton's fairly, they did well in the Premier League for a long time. They stayed there for
Bolton are top 14 club.
They've had 10 or 15 years there, something like that. They've obviously bounced, haven't they, a little bit? But that feeling that we had at those grounds is probably what you're talking about. Like walking into that game, home or away, seeing Southampton and that kit, they probably have a bouncing away end. Or if you go to their ground, it's probably 30 or 40,000 stadium. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it's a decent one. And that's sort of a bit of nostalgia about it, I guess, from your point of view. So we'll be grateful of any of them, won't we? Ultimately,
well, it'll happen eventually, won't it? It will come around. That's the beauty of it. Some of those teams, like West Brom, Stoke, we played them quite recently, didn't we? Stoke in the cup, is it? So, but there's so many teams there, massive clubs. And like we go Charlton, Bolton. I knew then that game against Bolton, that was a credible draw, a well-deserved point. I knew then, hang on, we're in this league. We're not out of our depth here. We can survive this.
I did.
It's always the first priority: survive.
Yeah. And for us, it's alien to some people because obviously, like. We'll have generations of fans now who've only know as they've come of age and understood what's going on. They've only seen Wrexham get promoted. So this is going to be interesting to see how people react this season if we're not at the top, and I'm not expecting us to be, but if we're not at the top of the league and we are having a spell where we don't pick up points for 2 or 3 games or whatever it is, it's going to be really interesting to see how the fan base reacts.
We do that every January, February, don't we?
So you take January and multiply it out and dot it in September and then November and then January. That might be what our season's like, mightn't it?
Yeah, but still, it's still going to be just so exciting.
It's for me. I never thought we would get out of the National League, in all honesty. It felt like we'd come close a few times and it was just not meant to be. So for us to now be sat here, what are we? I don't know how many weeks away we are, but let's just call it on the eve of a championship season, even though it's not quite, but you get what I mean. We're in the bloody championship. I was turning to my lad in games last season. We'd be in the ground. We'd just scored a winner, just scored a goal. I mean, I'd be looking at him and be like, this could bloody happen. We might be playing in the championship. This is like bonkers stuff, isn't it? I never dreamt we'd be here, Carl. I don't know whether you really did or whether you'd be willing to admit that if you didn't, but I didn't think we'd ever be here.
Well, no, of course, you thought we all understood the potential of what was happening, but it takes more than money. It takes more than exposure. And you just wanted to get promoted out of the National League. And that stupid rule of how many teams go up, that was a problem. Okay. Different rules. If that changed, we would have gone up far, far earlier.
Can I?
Yeah, you just need to get out there, get back established as a football league club.
Can I add, there was something else that changed that often gets overlooked, and I think my gut feeling is it's something that Sean Harvey probably was behind, but somebody at our club, and it helped us greatly. Was and you might not remember this, but while we were in the National League, because we obviously are under the FAW, I might be refreshing your memory. We had to adhere to transfer windows. Whereas every other English club in the National League didn't have to, right?
Yeah.
So we always had our hands tied from the start. And then the season we got promoted, when that news broke, I was actually in London on the day, and the news broke. Wrexham put it out there, said we're now on we're on a level playing field. And I'm assuming Sean Harvey had gone to the FA and gone, or the EFL and gone, this isn't fair. Like, what's going on here? Can we? And we got an exemption. That was the point that I thought, we've got a chance here now, because as well as having the backing, we've got the accessibility, and it came to bear because that we were able to buy players in like February that we couldn't have normally. So it often gets overlooked. I don't know whether it was Sean Harvey, maybe it was Fleur, maybe it was somebody else, but whoever it was that fought our case and made that argument, probably did us a really, really big favour, didn't they? As well as obviously all the money. I get all that. But if you can't spend the money when everybody else can, you're still hindered, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I did forget all about that, to be fair. Who were your best signings under Parky? Richie Williams in the leader, he did his top 10 the other day. Who would your top 5 be?
Oh, God, top 5. Right. This is difficult because sometimes they've come and gone and stuff. Can I have a cheat one? Can I have one cheat one? I'm not going to put them in order if that's all right, just because it would take too long to think about it. But can I have a cheat? Can I have a cheat one in Max Cleworth? And I'll tell you why it's a cheat. That basically he was a kid that like Parky's decision was, do I think he's good enough or not? Wasn't it? You know. And that looks a stupid question now because he's been accustomed to everything. So I'll put him in because Parky had faith. He played in the very first game away at Solihull, even though we'd been buying defenders at the time. So I'm gonna have a cheat one if I can. I think that Mullen. I know he's a free agent, but I think that's an unbelievable signing. So that's a big one for me. I'm gonna put Arthur in there because I just think he's just an unbelievable shot stopper. And there's been times if you go back to times like the game against Wycombe away last season, in the end, they had a massive chance. We're 1-0 up. We have a massive chance at the end of that game, and Arthur pulls off an unbelievable save. So I would put Arthur up there. I have recency bias, so lots of them will be more recent ones, I guess. I'd put Rathbone in there. I'd put Ollie Rathbone in there. That's 4. I'm trying to think of one that perhaps nobody would. If there's an odd one that perhaps escapes the memory. All right. I'm tell you what I'm going to say. Controversial, maybe. I'm going to say Tozer.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think
he'd be close to me, you know. Yeah.
His experience and everything that we perhaps don't see. I think back to that game, we won a game away at Notts County, and it was just after his dad had died, and he had to come in. Somebody got injured in the warm-up, and he had to come in out of the blue, and he played the game, and he was unbelievable. I just think his leadership, and obviously the laser of a long throw, which helped for a while. And I remember him scoring a late equaliser away at Oldham, where he drilled one in the bottom corner. And then Mullen's got the penalty afterwards, if you remember, in like the 90th minute or something. And that was Toes. He got a bit of stick sometimes, but I think that's one of those. He's the type of, it's like a championship equivalent of him is what I think we're looking for. Just really solid players that just they understand what's going on and they know how to win and and how to battle through adversity. I think. So I think. I'd say them. I know some people have picked. Somebody might pick a Fozzie or something, but I'd say they're them for me, but I'm
No room for
interested in.
Palmer.
Say again.
No room for Ollie Palmer.
Not for me. Not
No.
for me. He had a brilliant sort of 6 to 12 months when he joined, and then I didn't see it then after that for me. So no, not one for me, that one. But you can have him in yours. That's all right.
Is he another one you think that's this time's up? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he would. I thought he would go last season. And I think he'll definitely. And obviously, there was that bit on the documentary, wasn't there, where it sounded like he was close to going in the January window. I think he was lower down the list than Paul Mullin was, and Mullin's decided to go. I think Ollie will go. He acquitted himself really well.
Behind the scenes, it's been handled. He's reacted badly. There looks like there's some issues, doesn't there? Surrounding his, being left out the squad, not playing.
Yeah.
He stuck by him though early on. He gave him a fair chance.
Yeah, he did. He gave him, because obviously he played the first, let's say it was about 20 games of the season or something last season. And I know lots of people like him. But for me, I was surprised we went with him at the start of last season. I thought we were going to upgrade on him, but we obviously didn't. But in the end, what we know is he didn't score enough goals for Parky, and obviously he's obviously replaced him in a different way. So he wouldn't be in my 5, but would he be in your 5?
Possibly not. I'd have to say, obviously Mullen.
Yeah.
I'd go for Foster.
Right. Yeah.
I'd go for McLean.
Oh, right. Okay.
Elliot Lee.
Yeah, he'd be close for me.
Maybe Rathbone.
Yeah, okay.
Toes is in the shout. I think there's some nostalgia for that squad that got promoted from the National League the first time, but possibly, yeah, Palmer would be in the top 6 perhaps because of just what he did that first season. 6 or 7.
You know what's interesting? If you'd have asked me that question about 15 games into last season, I'd have said to you, Ryan Barnett might be close.
Yes, yeah.
Because he was on fire, if you remember.
He was the star, wasn't he? The first half of the season.
He was untouchable. He was unstoppable.
Yeah.
And yet Parky went and still upgraded him, I guess is for what I don't know what the better word is. So it just goes to show that you can't rest on your laurels, can you? It doesn't matter whether you're the best performing player. Again, there's an example. The signs are there. Parky tells you that even if you think this player is like, if you'd have asked me in the National League season, some people would have said Jordan Davis, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was scoring a lot of goals and stuff. Yeah.
Luke Young playing the shift. Wasn't he dependable? Not flamboyant. Luke Young deserves.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I get it. But yeah, it's different because everybody's got a connection to different people. But yeah, I wonder who Parky would say when he retires or quits or whatever. It'll be fascinating to say if you said that to him. Because if I remember we're seeing Alex Ferguson got interviewed and somebody asked him who I think Gary Neville asked him, and I think his answer was somebody like Park Ji-young or Dennis Irwin. It wasn't like Cantona or.
I can understand Irwin. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was somebody really under the radar that you wouldn't have ever thought of. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because they get to see him in and around the ground and all that. You see as well, don't they?
Okay, cheers, Matt. Before we go, any news on the Kop? What's happening with this now?
Oh God. Well, what I'm hoping
was it next season it needs to be built by?
It's got to be up by this time next year, I think. Yeah. So what I'm hoping, obviously they've taken down the temporary Kop, haven't they? So it looks a bit bare there now, sadly, which is would have been lovely to have that next season, but it is what it is. So what I'm hoping is that they've got to the substation for the power has moved to by the flats and by the university. So what I'm hoping is once that's up and running, and that they can move all the inners of the substation across, that they will then, which is obviously going to take them a few more weeks yet, they will then start to break ground, and we'll be watching them from when we're at the ground. We're going to be able to see this this work happening, aren't we? So I've not heard anything to say it's not happening unless you have. So I'm expecting it to emerge in front of our eyes over the next season.
Lovely, brick by brick, piece by piece.
Yeah, I mean, most of it's prefabricated, so it'll go up quite quickly. Because when they said it was going to take 12 months, I was like, really? That sounds quick. But because a lot of it's prefabricated, they can just put it up relatively quick. It's going to be, when we get to Christmas time and it's probably starting to take shape a bit, I think that's what we'll walk into the ground one day, won't we? We'll be like, oh, bloody hell. So I'm really looking forward to that point. But, when it's full and the ground is full as well, I think that first game when we get to open it, that first league game, probably not a friendly or something, that first league game, I think it's going to be, again, that'll be another moment, a bit of we've been dreaming of that for a long time, haven't we? Did we ever really believe that the Kop would get replaced? Did we ever think we had the facility to do it?
It was left, rejected. It was just,
pre-takeover. I don't think we ever really believed we would have the capability to do it.
No, but you got the option to take up a seat there and move there.
So well, that was the original plan because we were in the tech end. I think I'm pretty sure that when it said that if you renew, then they'll give you the option of going into that stand. So, because the original plan, whether they're going to stick to it or not, I don't know. The original plan was that the uni end or the tech end will be for away fans, because we're obviously going to have to give them a bigger allocation. It'll be easier to police them in and out of there, like we used to with even when Chester came to town, we used to give them that stand, didn't we? So I'm assuming that that's still the plan, but obviously we've not heard anything, so it might not be. But it's going to be weird going in this season. The dugout will be moved. We'll have the new pitch.
Yes,
it's going to be weird.
Is it just in front of the Mullen stand now, isn't
it? Yeah.
Okay, that's what I am. Okay.
You'll be able to tell Parky what you think.
Yeah, exactly. I don't. You'll tell him to start off. You know what I mean?
Are you gonna? Can you? What you should do is write some substitutes down on a paper plane and throw it at him. He'll open it up and it'll be like, take off Rodriguez and bring on Hardy or whatever.
But no, I want to appreciate that, Willie Parky. Did you go to the awards ceremony, the awards day?
Yes.
Yeah, bloody cold, wasn't it?
It was. So I made the classic mistake though, because it looked sunny. So I'd made the mistake of not having too many layers on, and it was chilly in the Moles Road. I don't know what it is. Has anybody ever figured out why that Moles Road stand? Is it something to do with the wind coming in there and catching the? I don't know. But I tell you what, the new the dugout, the new seats they're having in the dugout apparently for the players and stuff are all heated and everything apparently. But I'll bet you by the end of December, Parky will be on the phone going, "Can we move this bloody dugout back across the pitch? It's bloody freezing." But have you seen what they've done in the dugout? In the old dugout, have you seen what they've done? They've got the dugout club.
No.
Right, so they're putting where the dugout was. They've not really done too much work to it. I think they're going to put some fancy padded seats in. I think you can buy some sort of season ticket for it. It's like a corporate seat. I think they are going to call it the Dugout Club, or it's being referred to as the Dugout Club. I think you get a pie and a pint every game, and you get your seat obviously in that old dugout. I think it's about £1,200 a year.
Okay.
How many do you want?
Okay. No,
how many rows does the Welsh Beast show want? Do you want a couple of rows, Carl, or how many do you want?
I'm thinking about it. Why not? Let's live the high life, isn't it? Let's live it up for a bit.
I tell you what, I'm good. My £400 hurts enough.
What's that, sorry?
My £400 in the tech end hurts enough. Never mind that.
No. To be fair, I'm surprised it didn't go up higher. I was expecting that'll do. I think they'll take their hands off of that.
I agree. I thought it was extremely fair. I know there's some people who are in the corporate and the hospitality are not happy because I believe some of their prices doubled. If what I read online is true, I see some people complained. But I think corporate and sponsorship, if you can get more money from them and try and keep it affordable for the people who, I don't want to call us normal people. What can I call us? Your normal match going fan. Try and keep it as normal as possible to retain that sort of connection to the community and the better atmosphere and stuff. Because Premier League clubs are suffering with that now. They're outpricing the local fan, aren't they? Because they're so expensive. So if we can do that for as long as possible, that would be amazing. I was extremely surprised that I thought it was really good, the pricing this year. But I know not everyone will agree, because if it goes up, then obviously you feel hard done to. But I thought we got off really.
It was inevitable and justified.
I have no problem. I had no problem with that either. I don't think anybody realistically could expect it not to go up. Especially with the fact that we're getting rid of 5,000 seats, so we've got to get that money from somewhere, haven't we? So I thought that was really good, and the club deserve a lot of credit for that pricing. Certainly in our seats, I say the corporate stuff. That might have been different, but that's not my world, so I don't live in that world.
I think businesses, this will be spoiled for choice. I think people who want to go can afford it. They'll find the money, and they'll never be short of interested people, will they? And the new shop is taking shape as well. The club shop on Eagle Meadow.
Yeah. I walked past it. I walked past it about a couple of weeks ago, I think it was. It was the first day I think they put the sign up. But it'd been long rumoured so I think we knew it was going to happen. But it looks good. It'll be interesting to see it when it's open, and what difference is it to a normal shop. And then obviously there'll be a mega store in the COP. That was the original in the new COP. That was the original plan. So I'm assuming that's still going to be the same. But we've had pop-ups on Eagles Meadow before, haven't we? And they've done all right. So let's hope it does that. See, that's a move which is good for the town as well, because it drives some of the footfall to the town, not just to the ground.
People who just want to nip and grab some merchandise and some shirts, they're not going to go somewhere else. They might stay there then and do other things. And
right. So this is obviously this is how you help the community and not just the club. Drive people to that retail park, or they've all got to walk. If you're an international fan and you arrive on the train, for instance, you're going to go and have a look at the ground, but now you've got to walk through the high street, and then it's up to our high street vendors to draw people in, then, isn't it? And some of the pubs come and have a drink while you're on your way to or from the shop. So I think it was
out last night. The place was dead. I don't know what's happening, but the high street's lovely now, isn't it? What they've done there.
How do I word this? The council don't do very much right, but that high street looks really good, doesn't it? Although those bollards are obviously causing a problem that they keep, keep smashing into.
Well, you can't please people, can you, really? But they look absolutely lovely. Let's get the rest of the town sorted.
Yeah. No, I think it looks really good.
Here? I know they've got the tour of Australia. When we're going to get Chelsea at the Racecourse or Liverpool?
I mean, they've already said they're not going to be this season, didn't they? They said, but the word was that we were going to play I think they said a couple of friendlies away from home. But the tours will be here before we know it. So if you have got a friendly before the tour, aren't you going to have to announce that this week, really? Now, there was some clubs rumoured. I don't know if you saw the rumours of the clubs that were rumoured for the friendly. So the rumours that came out... The rumours that came out weeks ago was Wolves and Everton.
Okay.
But then Everton... Right, but Everton have put out a post yesterday or a couple of days ago which said they announced... I can't remember who they were playing at their new stadium, but it was described as our final pre-season friendly. So it would appear that it's not Everton. And then there was a rumour going around that we might be away at a Dutch club. I saw on social media, but it didn't name the club. So I have no idea who that is or who that could be. I mean, you can have some wild guesses, couldn't you? Because obviously I could Google all the Dutch clubs, but so it's going to be fascinating to see who. But it'll be hopefully next year. We get to have they'll have to do a couple of test events, you think, with the new COP, won't they? So hopefully in the end of that pre-season next year, we'll have at least one, maybe two sort of test events that are friendlies as well.
And these international tours, they do needed, worth taking advantage of the interest, growing the fan base. Do you agree with it? Are you happy with it? Do you think it's best use of the time, the travelling, the change of climate, all that business?
So as long as we manage it, year one when we did it, we came back too late, didn't we? And we got, we paid the price. So I accept it because everybody does a tour now, don't they? Ultimately, it puts money in Phil's pocket for him to spend money. So I accept it. It's always going to happen, I suspect. It's just nice for us to have a game or two at the racecourse, I think, pre-season, so that we can see how it's shaping up. Those August friendlies on a bright sunny day at the racecourse are quite nice. So as long as we get one at home, I'm accepting of the fact that they go on tour, and we have to remember we are quite. Say again.
They slipped one in at the end last year, didn't they?
And if I think I was away. I remember us a couple of years ago playing. I think we played Macclesfield at the racecourse and stuff. So, I grew up when we grew up. It was great because big teams would come, wouldn't they? You'd have a decent side would come, and that was quite exciting. I mean, it would be nice for us to go and support some of the local teams as well. We have to remember, but let's put ourselves in a different foot. Why don't we go and help the likes of an Airbus or somebody, get some of them at the racecourse as well, and help them out? Because remember, we've been where some of these teams have been, haven't we?
Yeah, good idea. Yeah.
Let's not forget how grateful they might be for pick another team, pick a League Two side that you like. How nice would it be for us to help them sides out? Say, come to the racecourse, or we'll come to you, and let's get you a payday. And like we did with Hanley Town, we went away. Do you remember going away to Hanley Town before they flew away?
No, but I remember it, but I never went. So.
Yes, I did, and that was it was their record gate fee and stuff. So I'm all for doing that as well. But obviously, it's a different world now, isn't it?
Okay, great stuff. Thank you, Matt. Thank you as always. Great stuff, great contribution, very knowledgeable. Matt Jones from Racecourse Ramble, thank you so much, and we'll do it again. Cheers, mate. I appreciate this.
Thank you, Carl. No problem.